Hello and welcome back to MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic. In today's video, we are going to install the first 20 creature cards with CMC of 6 into our Momir Vig cube. What's up, MTG BC? That is the MTG Burgeoning community. Thank you for coming back for the 6th installment of our Momir Vig Cube series. If you are not familiar with what we're trying to do here with our Momir Vig series, please search the description below and find the link to MTG Burgeoning's introduction to the Momir Vig variant. Watch that video and then come right back, because today we are going to install the first 20 creature cards with converted mana cost of 6. Additionally, in that same description below, click on the link to Cube Cobra. There you can view the contents of the cube as it sits right now. So let's get right to the creatures. We have 20 to talk about, and the first one is Admonition Angel. It's a 6/6 flyer with the landfall mechanic. Whenever a land ETB is under our control, we may exile target non-land permanent other than Admonition Angel. That's going to be exceedingly powerful because we'll be able to play a land on every single one of our turns. And when we exile one of our opponent's creatures, remembering that all creatures are token copies, they're all tokens, and once your token leaves the battlefield, it ceases to exist. So really, for the purposes of this Momir Vig cube, Admonition Angel should read landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under our control, you may exile target creature your opponent's control. That's what it really should be. And we ignore the last block of text because once a token leaves the battlefield, it ceases to exist. Admonition Angel, you are creature number 1 with a mana value of 6. All right, staying with the Angel theme, we have Aegis Angel, a 5/5 flyer that when it ETBs, another target permanent is indestructible for as long as we control Aegis Angel. We can make Aegis Angel give indestructibility to the key member of our army that's either the lead blocker or our lead attacker. Aegis Angel is creature card number 2. All right, number 3, we have Ether Snipe. When this ETBs, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. We're not evoking this, we're paying the 6 mana for it, so the Ether Snipe is going to stick as a 4/4, and we're going to bounce one of our creatures to our opponent's hand. And again, remembering what we were talking about with Admonition Angel, when that token leaves the battlefield, it ceases to exist. So Ether Snipe is going to pretty much destroy one of our opponent's creatures. Creature number 4 is Akoum Hellkite, 4/4 flyer with the landfall mechanic. When a land enters the battlefield under our control, this deals 1 damage to any target. If that land is a mountain, it deals 2 damage instead. So make sure your land deck is filled with mountains, MTG BC. All right, number 5, another Angel, Angelic Guardian, a 5/5 flyer that whenever one or more creatures we control attack, they gain indestructible until end of turn. How would you like to send all of your creatures into combat each turn knowing that they can't be destroyed outside of potential wither effects? But Angelic Guardian will give them indestructible until end of turn. All right, we're 5 cards in, 25% done, and we're staying with our Angel theme. Angelic Skirmisher, 4/4 flyer at the beginning of each combat. That must be stressed because it's not just our combat, it's actually every combat of every turn during the match. At the beginning of each of those combats, we choose First Strike, Vigilance, or Lifelink. Creatures we control gain that ability until end of turn. So if we're on our turn and it's combat, most likely we're taking Vigilance. If it's one of our opponent's combats, most likely we're taking First Strike. And if we're in need of some lifelink, well, maybe we're going to take lifelink too if things are looking a little dire or grim. Either way, Angelic Skirmisher gives us some options during combat of every single turn. All right, creature card number 7, we have the Angler Drake, a 4/4 flyer that when it enters the battlefield, you may return target creature to its owner's hand. So very much like Ether Snipe with a better body and much better evasion, of course, because it has flying, we're going to bounce one of our creatures to our opponent's hand, and then it ceases to exist. Okay, next up, creature card number 8, staying with blue flyers, but this time it's Arbiter of the Ideal, a 4/5 flying Sphinx with the Inspired mechanic. Since this is such a big flyer for an investment of 6, it seems likely we'll be able to untap with this and actually utilize the Inspired ability. And when we do, whenever Arbiter of the Ideal becomes untapped, we reveal the top card of our library. If it's an artifact, creature, or land, we may put it onto the battlefield with the manifestation counter on it. That permanent is an enchantment in addition to its other types. So for the purposes of this Momir Vig cube, Arbiter of the Ideal should really read, whenever it becomes untapped, put the top card of your library onto the battlefield under your control, because every card is a land. So we were going to be able to ramp up with a blue Sphinx. How do you like that green? All right, we are nearing the halfway point of this video. And creature card number 8, Arcanus the Omnipotent. 3/4 legendary wizard, tap to draw 3 cards. We're never going to utilize the 2/2 blue ability, because honestly, if we return Arcanus to our hand, it ceases to exist. Let's be honest, this 3/4 wizard is in the Momir Vig cube in order to turn it sideways and draw 3 lands. All right, creature card number 10, nearing the halfway point. We are now there with Arcbound Fiend, our first artifact creature of this mana value. It's a fear artifact creature, and at the beginning of our upkeep, we may move a +1/+1 counter from target creature onto Arcbound Fiend. This will enter the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it due to its modular 3 mechanic. And when it dies, we may put +1/+1 counters onto another target creature from Arcbound Fiend. So we gotta hope that if for some reason, and it has fear as well, if I failed to mention that. So we gotta hope we can conjure up some additional artifact creatures to get some more modular synergy. Speaking of that, we have our next creature, and that's Arcbound Wanderer. Another 6 mana artifact creature with modular. This has Sunburst. Another bonus for trying to include as many different colored lands in your deck as possible, because if you tap for at least one of every color, this is going to enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each color of mana used to cast it. And of course, it has modular, so when it's put into a graveyard, we may put its +1/+1 counters on another target artifact creature. Make sure you are playing with all of those lands, MTGBC. All right, creature number 12. Archetype of Finality. 2/3. Creatures we control have Death Touch, and creatures our opponents control lose Death Touch and can't have or gain Death Touch. So that means no Death Touch soup for them. Staying with the archetype cards, we're going to go with the Archetype of Imagination. 3/2, creatures we control have flying, and creatures your opponents control lose flying and can't have or gain flying. This could be completely backbreaking in a game of Momir Vig, particularly because we have the evasion of flying and none of our opponents will. All right, creature card number 14. Archon of Coronation, a 5/5 flyer that when it ETBs, we become the monarch. As long as we're the monarch, damage does not cause us to lose life. When a creature deals combat damage to us, its controller still becomes the monarch, we just don't lose any life. Archon of Coronation, through its introduction of the monarch, is going to make the Momir game variant that much more chaotic. Next, creature number 15, we have Assembled Alphas, a 5/5 wolf that when it blocks or becomes blocked by a creature, Assembled Alphas will deal 3 damage to that creature and 3 damage to that creature's controller. So we can definitely get rid of some biggins if they so choose to block Assembled Alphas. At the 3/4 mark here in episode number 6, creature 16, the Baloth Woodcrasher. 4/4, whenever a land ETBs under our control, Baloth Woodcrasher gets +4/+4 and gains trample until end of turn. Because this is the Momir Vig variant, we should be able to play a land on every single turn throughout the game. So minimally, we can send an 8/8 trampler into play for the investment of 6 mana. All right, creature card number 17 going to the Urza block with Beast of Burden. Artifact creature that reads, power and toughness are equal to the number of creatures in play. So that could be an awfully big creature. Unfortunately, it has no evasion. However, we'll just have to hope and keep our fingers crossed that one of the creatures that we summon from the cube may grant it evasion. Like, can you imagine the archetype of imagination next to the Beast of Burden? That seems like it would be a game-ending creature combination. All right, 3 creatures left. Number 18, we have the Bellowing Aegisaur. 3/5 with the Enraged mechanic. Whenever Bellowing Aegisaur is dealt damage, we put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature we control. So hold it back for defensive purposes or haphazardly send it into combat, knowing that if it's not blocked, we'll deal 3 damage to our opponent, or if it is, we're going to make the rest of our creatures a little bit bigger. Okay, number 19, we have Brass Herald, an artifact golem at a 2/2. When it ETBs, we choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type get +1/+1. Now, unfortunately, the middle block of text is not going to be applicable to this Momir Vig cube, because when he ETBs, we reveal the top 4 cards of our library. We put all creature cards of the chosen type revealed this way into our hand, which our entire library is constructed of basic lands. However, this is going to ETB as a 2/2 that acts as a lord for at least one of the creatures on our battlefield. And as one of the points we've driven home during the construction of this Momir Vig cube, not every creature is going to be uber helpful or overly powerful. And here we are, creature number 20 of installment 6. It is the Broodmate Dragon, a 4/4 flyer that when it ETBs, create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying. So we're getting 2 4/4 flyers for the price of 1. And in a format like Momir Vig, where you can only cast 1 creature spell per turn, getting 2 for 1 is a momentous advantage. And there we have it, MTG BC. Installment 6 is in the books. We are 120 cards deep into this Momir Vig cube. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.